Welcome back to another edition of the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45.
My name is TJ with 2 Wheels and Coffee.
How you doing today, man? How's everything?
Everything's good on my end. Happy. Bikes everywhere. Theories everywhere. The weather's good.
Yeah. Well, sadly for me, I was supposed to go racing and that didn't happen. The race weekend got canceled. The event for the weekend in Barbara, so which would have been my first time there, and so forth. But situation that's out of my hands, and hopefully, Pan American Series will either add another round or figure it out or whatever the case may be. But it was a little disappointed because I was ready to go. I was excited about being at a new track, as this year has been a few new tracks for me.
And I was excited to hear about how it was too. But,
until next time. We got what do I have? I think I may do CMP July 20th weekend. I'm thinking about it. So we'll see if schedule works out, and that's with CCS Azra. So that's not even with the Pan American Series, but they don't have anything that they're running this month, the Pan American Series. So if I want to get any racing in close to me, I think the closest thing right now is South Carolina.
You got to make it happen if you can. He was about to go to Barbara, right? So
yeah,
that was a little way too.
It's about the same ride, so that's not. I think give or take, it's about the same drive. So it is what it is. I also did think about going to Jersey last weekend, but I wouldn't even feel like doing that drive.
That's a lot, especially when you're doing the solo trips, man. Thinking about that drive. I remember we used to always talk, and I was like, man, you drove 5 hours, or 6 hours. I'm like, how you do it? He was like, man, 3 hours is nothing.
Yeah.
And then I just started doing it, and then I was like, yeah, you're right. But, it gets tiring after a while just doing this, the same long trips all the time. I
will say this, after moving down here and driving back and forth from Boston to Sarasota County 4 or 5 times in less than 6 weeks, or maybe 8 weeks. As you've noticed, I haven't driven back to Boston since. So, so it is one of those things. Like the 30-hour drive, it's probably more like 25, 26, give or take. But that did get old. So I know I got to do it when I go. Hopefully, I'm doing Laguna Seca next year. And so if that happens, that's going to be a good drive as well. So hopefully by that time, I'll be ready to, drive 25, 30 hours. It is what it is.
I would definitely love to do Laguna Seca so I can go down that little corkscrew, park my bike, jump on it, and kiss it.
You might have to do that after hours, but no doubt. I'm looking forward to it. As I've only seen videos, watch old MotoGP races that happened there at the time and stuff like that. And obviously Moto America still goes there, I believe. So I can't wait to go. Is all I can say. But let's jump into what's going on in MotoGP world, because it's it's been crazy.
Oh yeah, it looks like your poll from last session. It looks like everybody was correct.
All the people that picked Bagniaia.
But man, what a race weekend! It's full of penalties and all types of stuff. I haven't seen as many penalties and corrections in a while.
Yeah, that was very interesting, and also I was curious to see the mood of Martin, Bastianini, Vinales, just to see how they were going to be, and I'm not that I'm shocked, but I'm glad that they're being professional, but it still burns a little bit. I got to assume. But before we dive all into the main GP race, let's talk about Moto3, because What a crazy race! It was. The whole weekend was fun to watch. But Moto3 was pretty exciting. I was rooting for Vaya. I was definitely rooting for Vaya. I thought finishing second place when you're on the podium in general, it does feel good. But when you so close to first place and you don't get it, that second place don't feel as sweet. It'd be one thing if you came from the back or you had to battle with people or whatever, and you got that second, but he was leading for a good portion of that race. And it was his home Grand Prix. So, I gotta assume for Vaya, it just stings. That second place just stings a little bit.
I hear you on that. I also got to give it up to Ortola because he was also leading for most of that race. And, those drafts come and all those riders get swallowed up.
Right.
And he lost the lead at one point.
Oh, yeah.
There was a rider who also took a long lap penalty, which let him gain the lead. But he lost the lead at one point. And to photo finish, to come back and finish within, what is it?
I don't know what it is, but
0-1-2.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing, to claw back and be like, all right, yeah, I got it. But, for being your home Grand Prix, VAR, I mean, that sucks to get that second place because, people forget about second.
Yeah. They do forget about second. So I gotta, that's the downside of it, I think. But overall, it was really good racing. Munoz, Alonso, these guys are, I don't know how long are they going to stay in Moto3 for because, they're really putting themselves out front as the front leaders.
Yeah, I didn't look into how many spots are available for Moto2, but we know one's leaving for sure. So I don't know how many riders are planning on going up. I have to do some research on that.
Right. Well, so Moto2 is a little different in the sense that some riders just don't have a seat. And they don't make it. They're just out of Moto. They don't go, they're not back down to Moto3. They're not in MotoGP. Some of them may show up in World Super Sport. Or they're racing some other series. So there's a lot of riders in Moto2. You look at, McPhee. I think he got like 1 year in Moto2, and then he went over to World Superbike. So for some riders, man, they is Moto2s as far as they go. So and looking at the Moto2, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some guys that lose their seat for next season.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you can tell like there's a solid top 5 in Moto2. What were you talking about
in Moto3?
Yeah, so I don't know how many will go up in Moto3, but I also don't, like you said, I don't know how many seats are safe in Moto2. So
right.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone. I mean, I think. Who is it? He. I think did he crash out? He might have crashed. No, he didn't crash out. I feel bad for Tetsuki Suzuki because he crashed out. But there's another rider that he's doing really well. I think he's Japanese and Furusoto. And I mean, he was up there in the front of the pack as well. Unfortunately for him, I think he made a mistake. And fell down to 13th at the end of it all. But and I believe this is his second year in Moto3, and he was up front as well for a little bit. So the Moto3 riders, man, it was a very fun race to watch, and everyone is leaving it on the line.
So knowing that you got the MotoGP level, Moto2, and Moto3. We know what they're all shooting for to get to the MotoGP level. So as a Moto3 rider, what do you think a coach looks for to say, hey, like he's ready for Moto2?
Honestly, I don't know, but I got to assume it's going to be, I think they all pretty much have the skill set. So I got to think it's just how they handle pressure. You know what I'm saying? Adversity, obstacles, or whatever the case may be. Because you got to think about these kids are young. So, but the ones that can handle the pressure, at a young age, you can see they signed to the bigger manufacturers. You know what I'm saying? Like the KTMs of the world, or who's the team that Masia won with last year? Leopard, Honda. Those guys, you know, those top riders are signed with those with the bigger teams and stuff like that, the more successful teams. So, but they don't necessarily come into Moto3 in those seats. They might be in one of the smaller teams. And you know, they might ride a year or two with the smaller teams, and because a lot of those smaller teams, those riders kind of get all shuffled around. I mean, you also see it in Moto2 as well. So you know, I think that happens. But the ones that are, you know, I think the riders that are in the top 10 in any class probably has the best chance of retaining their seats. But I think a lot of those teams are probably looking for you know, the mental side of things and the capacity of how they deal with things.
Yeah, I can see that. They're still growing, so no, yeah, I could definitely see that on how they face adversity, mental tests and challenges, and yeah, trying to build their resume in Moto3.
Right.
Sancho, he just moved up last year. I mean, he's doing okay in Moto2. I mean, I think he's going through.
Yeah, he's hurt right now. So he got hurt at I forget which round, but it looked like he messed up his hand pretty bad, and he's just recovering from that. So now, and that's a setback for him. And he's a talented rider. He's a bigger rider, so realistically, the Moto2 bikes is going to suit him better than the Moto3 bikes, just because of the weight and his size. But that was very unfortunate. Also for Joe Roberts, he broke a collarbone, I believe, in practice, and you know, unfortunate because I believe he was second in the championship, and you know, and they're going to ask Sachsenring this weekend. So you know, tough break for him. Tough break for Canet as well. You know, he crashed again, and you know, a lot of guys got jacked up this weekend. You know, Alex Rins is jacked up. We were talking about him the last show. That's one of his biggest issues is he just can't stay healthy. Aleix as well crashed out and also hurt himself. He crashed in the sprint and couldn't race in the main GP. So you know, Moto2 and MotoGP, a lot of riders got jacked up this past weekend, and that changes things, especially for, you know, like I said, Joe Roberts' case, because you know he still has the opportunity to win the championship, but you know, when you leave points on a table, it's hard to recover from that.
Yeah, it's hard to recover when you leave points on the table and you can't even participate. And I don't know if it's hard, like if you're out there and you lose the points by crashing out, but getting hurt is nothing that anybody wants to see.
Right.
It's such a blow, especially to American people, to see that Joe Roberts hurt, because you know we want to see him progress and possibly go to GP side. And then you know, watching Moto2, like, you know, I always root for Aaron Canet. And now when I see someone, when the yellow flag comes out, like that's the first name I think of, and I just hope I don't see his name.
Right.
And it's not his name. It's kind of like Jawan Mir now in GP. It's like the obvious.
The crash. You know,
there's incidents this weekend.
Right. But, you know, shout out to Ayaguro, because Ayaguro, this is his first win. The last 2 years, he's finished second. And he was not giving this one up, man. It was not giving it up.
Yeah. It was a nice battle at the end, but someone just trying to chase him just made a mistake. He just put his head down, just gained that little extra half a second, whatever it was. It just gave him enough to like take a breath out of someone. Just like, all right, you got it.
Right. And he's like, you know, I'm rooting for that guy as well. So I can't sit here and say he's been struggling all year, but you know, it is nice to see him ride as the way he's riding. Especially, he has a super fast teammate in Sergio Garcia, and I mean, it looked like Sergio just ran out of tires essentially, and you know, but Ayaguro had that pressure on him. So you know what I'm saying, and you know, when your teammate is getting all of the love, sometimes, that you can feel the shadow. You know what I'm saying? You can feel it because I know Augusto Fernandez felt it with Pedro coming in, kind of thing. And so I agree with his case. I mean, you got a teammate that's leading the championship right now. You got to produce. And he sure did, and in a spectacular way. I mean, he's one of the few riders. I mean, granted, Fermin Aldeguer, it was his to lose, and unfortunately, I saw a couple of those when he was going a little wide out of the track limits. So I saw a couple of those, and sure enough, like a few laps after that, he got the long lap penalty. And if he didn't get that long lap penalty, he would have had more tire underneath him. It would have been a different story. But he also had that gap possibly from cutting off the track too. So, I don't know if it's leveled out with the long lap penalty. But anyway, and for Fermin Aldeguer, this year, he had issues when he first came back because he wanted the world to know he got signed to Ducati, and he said that he couldn't ride well, right? And then they made the announcement, and then he's not making the best choices.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. It's just probably one of those things where you get excited about something, and you just probably want to have that statement on your back, like, yeah, this is what I'm doing or whatever. So it just didn't seem too focused. I'm not sure deeply what's going on, but especially with this race, serving a long lap penalty, he hasn't been out front in the past couple of races. I mean, we know he got the potential. So
right.
For him to be out there, I mean, it's just probably a little tricky to be out front. But I do want to give it to him because the riders that were stuck behind him, I'm not sure if they knew what was about to happen, but just to hit that corner and then he just disappears in the long lap penalty, you're like, oh yes, let's go.
Right, exactly.
He went from first to sixth, I think, and to fight back to becoming second. That shows that he can ride, but hopefully he got his mind set together for the next rounds to come.
Yeah, I hope so as well, because I gotta assume Ducati's looking at this. Rossi's looking at this if he's going to end up on the VR46 Academy, VR46 team. They're going to be looking at these things because, you got to carry yourself a certain way. I know I think it was not last year, maybe it was last year or the year before. I think it was, Bastianini, and it might have been Celestina Viette, one of these guys. They won first and second, and they were hugging and crashed and stuff not crashed, the bikes fell over, they fell over. Rossi wasn't even happy with that. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to, these guys, it's at that level, at any level, but at that level, you have to start carrying yourself a certain way because it's sponsors, is, what I'm saying, the execs above these guys right here that are looking and seeing all that. And so, you don't want to lose an opportunity or you don't want an opportunity cut short based on your actions, not even your riding skills, right? Just making, poor choices. So, but yeah, because in reality, he should have been the front runner for the championship, right? But he made so many mistakes of his own to where he's at in the championship right now, which he's fifth place in the championship right now. And so, that's all his own. He should have been he should be up front, but and he's down. I guess he has time to come back. He has the speed to come back, but it's going to be how he deals with it mentally.
The top right now is 138 with Garcia, and he's stuck at 83.
Right.
So the second was actually that. I mean, he probably needed that first place, but second will do.
You're right.
Yeah, he's gonna have to step it up.
No doubt.
He ain't no slouch.
Right. And it's interesting because, I don't want to pick on Lopez too much, but they seem to kind of they seem to kind of not have they're not making the best decisions. It seems like it, and when you're that skillful, you become playful, you become a little arrogant and stuff like that, and all that. So who knows? We'll see how it goes. But hey, if Jack Miller doesn't have a seat right now, you can't be Moto2 thinking like, what I'm saying. When you're winning and winning and winning, they're gonna allow you to get away with more. But when you're crashing and you're not and making mistakes and losing positions because of choices and stuff like that, and you also have to think about like when you have a team that's giving you the machine to ride on, and because you see how many riders that the team can't give them the bike to ride on that they feel comfortable enough. I mean, these guys are having the bikes that they can ride on, so they can't complain and say the bike is not there for them. So and Lopez and Furman Alligator, those guys really I don't want to say that they should be the front runners. You know what I'm saying? Based on how they could ride, and they're not. And I mean, the season is still pretty young, so we'll see what happens. But they got to sort it out. But I don't think when you look at Sergio Garcia, he ain't playing.
He ain't playing.
Go ahead.
He ain't playing. I was gonna say like if Aldeguer wins out, probably the top three, let's say, for the rest of the season, like you're gonna have to have Garcia like way down. Like you need to break that point gap. Like you can't get 20 plus points and you just break the difference by 5. You're not gonna get up there.
Yeah. So
83 points right now to 138. He's gonna have to legit not finish a race, and he's gonna have to win one to.
Right. But and even off track, right? I mean, we're only seeing what we see on track, and I'll use Garcia or Gura as examples because you see their demeanor; they're all business all the time, and that's something that not to say it's not for everyone, but you got to be all business all the time. And like I said, I don't want to beat on Lopez and Aldeguer too much, but like I said, I think that they probably got a few more races that they can get away with doing what they're doing without people in the background not start to wonder, ask questions, or even pull them aside and talk to them if that hasn't already happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to jump to GP, but that's how I feel about Martin. When they look at like how you act, like it's just certain things you do. It's just like, I was just saying, I was comparing it to Martin of being more professional for the state that he's in. That's probably why the decisions has been delayed and stuff like that. You got to carry yourself a certain way, and it just didn't seem like you could see the way Pecco carried himself. You could see the way, there's a lot of riders you could see that just carried themselves in a calmer demeanor or a more professional way. Where Martinez, you could tell he's more of like the partier type, more excited when results happen. But yeah, I was gonna say like Aldeguer and all, they gotta focus, be more. Can't say they're not being professional, but it's just we don't see the deeper side. It's just being at the state that they're at and what we expect out of them. Like certain things gotta tighten up.
Right. Exactly. And not from like when we say it, and when I say it, it's more for them because they're the ones that's going to lose the opportunities, have the possibility to lose the opportunity just based on how they're behaving. And again, they're not doing anything from what I can tell that's ridiculous, but you can't keep making mistakes on the track like that and nobody notices.
Well, yeah, definitely can't keep making mistakes on the track. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, you just got to go out there, clean slate, ride your ride. I mean, it's always say like on the street, it's not you, it's the others.
Right.
But yeah, just do your part. Is just to stay up, ride, do the best you can, and then the others will fall into place. But if you keep making the mistakes you're not supposed to, it's going to be a little harder road.
It does make it very difficult. So next round is in Sachsenring. You think that Roberts is going to be ready by then?
Oh, you know how these superheroes do. He's gonna make himself ready. He's gonna
Right.
make himself
Yeah.
ready. I mean, I can't describe like type of injuries all these riders have in all these levels of GP, Moto2, Moto3, and they have like 1 week in between, and they still find a way to get out there.
Right.
1 or 2 weeks. So I think he's gonna make it. How competitive will he be? I'm not sure, but I mean, he's in a position where he hasn't been before. He's up there in the championship. I think he can't let this slip. He's probably working out right now, asking the doctors like, all right, how do I look? Am I good?
Right. No, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I guess we'll assume he'll be back in on Friday. Oh, I guess we'll know Thursday. Let's jump over to MotoGP, and I mean, like the poll question said, who was going to win, and a good amount of the people did pick Pecco Bagniaia to win. He's won the last 2 years there. I didn't. You don't. I mean, when you're watching, you're at the edge of your seat. But the way he won both races, some people mention Valentino. I think he rode more like Lorenzo when he got out front, and that was that. And and he's riding. Not to say Rossi hasn't ridden like that, but Rossi's known for the battles. You know what I'm saying? It's the battles, right? And Lorenzo has always been the one that gets out front and just stays out front, and you're not catching him. And that's what it seemed with Pecco. I mean, I don't know what they're doing for that launch device because the other 7 Ducatis and all the other bikes, they just didn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, he was ready. He was for sure ready. But that launch that he had was perfect. And we all know Pecco, right? Every weekend that he comes into, he's relaxed. He eases into it, and then his results come as the Q2 comes, and then he'll place himself.
Right.
He wasn't playing from the start. He got Q1. Got a good start in the sprint. And the GPA he had a better start.
Right. Yes. You said Q1, but I'm pretty sure you meant P1.
P1, sorry, yeah. But he's just been so professional this weekend. And the fact that we was talking about he got the track tattooed on his arm, I mean, it shows right there.
Right.
Such an amazing ride to see. Like, it's just effortless for him.
It was. Do you think those other riders are a little bit nervous?
Yeah, because you know why? he's that point total is going down. I'm telling you, the second half of the season, Pecco turns it up. So
I didn't expect that out of him. Being in the front the whole weekend like that, and then probably no one did. I think we can see with Marc Marquez, he was overriding that Ducati, right? And so he's not comfortable yet. Martin couldn't have done a better job all weekend long, and the best he could do was finish the race 3 seconds behind Pecco. I don't know what the sprint was as far as behind, but he finished second place both races, and he has I'll say this: when we were talking about Aldeguer and Lopez a little bit about carrying himself, and you mentioned Martin. This is the first weekend. I mean, granted, the second, so maybe that's why. But he was composed this weekend, right? So I don't know if the flair of not getting that Ducati seat doesn't make him want to celebrate less. But he's definitely moving a little bit more, a little different. Maybe with a chip on his shoulder. I don't know, but and he struggled over the week. He did struggle in the beginning of the weekend, but nonetheless, and they all get to see each other's data, so it's not like he's hiding something. But as Martin said, Pecco was the guy this weekend, and so and I think Pecco still has room to get better because he doesn't look worried.
Did you see Pecco's lap times?
Yeah.
For the 26 laps?
Yeah.
Like 132. He touched 131 once.
Yeah,
And
12 laps in.
that was every lap. The only lap that was different was the first one.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and again, that's
So consistent.
that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? You know, it's the equivalent of a musician not making a mistake, you know, playing for a half hour straight, or I don't know how long the race was, but you know, not missing a note, not you know, missing a time. It's like he literally was, and that level of concentration, that level of locked in, because it's not concentration, you're just in, because you know it's just who you are. And you know, I think one of the reporters asked them about it, and it sounds like something they've been working on, you know, for a while, obviously for a while, because he's able to do it. But I think he's feeling the best that he's ever been on the Ducati in general, and that's 6 years, 6+ years on that bike. And so he's to as he says, being so precise. Well, first he has to be consistent, and now he is being consistent, and now you can see him, you know, hitting the same line, hitting the same braking markers, you know, getting on the gas at the right time, everything. And you know, listen, man, to be focused for, you know, people talk about meditation and stuff like that. When you first try to meditate, you know, you can go like maybe 10 seconds without thinking of something else. It takes a while to shut off for a minute, much less to be locked in for as long as he was. And we can see that the other riders were not locked in the whole race because they made mistakes.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like this whole weekend for all the classes, a bunch of penalties, mistakes. And now we get to Pecco. He was literally mistake-free for 45 minutes or whatever for 26 laps. I mean, like there was a lot of long lap penalties, a lot of track limit warnings, couple high sides here and there.
Bad high sides. Bad high sides.
He's out front and testing the waters before everyone gets there, and he's flawless. You know, it's just it's impressive.
Right.
This is probably the first weekend that I always be not against Pecco, but I'm just like, this dude.
You bought some red paint?
I put a little dab up. But yeah, it was just a crazy weekend, and how he rode was just amazing.
Right. Now, you know, let's jump around a little bit and talk about you know, Pedro. Tough weekend for Pedro.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't want to say as expected, but we want to see him grow in this. He's getting his learning curves, because like his pace that he was running, he was doing really well.
Right. But it is, not to cut you off, but it is as expected. I think the people, the fans, wanted to see, you know, something else. But it, you know, so I'm not, as you say, it is expected. So I'm not like upset or whatever, because it was unbelievable that he went that long without crashing.
Right. Yeah. No, that streak was amazing, and the luck he's had that when he has crashed, he hasn't taken anyone out, because he gets up in there to try to get that position.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, he's I'm not worried about him at all. Like I said, even last year, I didn't even think he was going to do this well. I had to come on and apologize because I was like, what is Pedro coming up to Moto3 or MotoGP for?
Right. No, I completely agree. I didn't expect him to do this well. And when he first started out, you know, I think people thought he was just going to continue going on. And, you know, that's not the case. And so, which, you know, listen, he's the only rookie, so he's going to win Rookie of the Year, regardless of whatever happens. And he's doing really well. He, you know, he's the top. I don't know what the points are now because he crashed out. So I don't know if Bender passed him or not. But he's getting parts that Miller isn't getting. And that's the problem why Miller's struggling, because he's not getting parts. So, you know, that might not be the only reason, but he is struggling, which is I don't understand why, you know, I don't know if that's motivation for riders by holding out parts for them. I don't know. But he's definitely, he has the factory seat. So, he's already surpassed what, who was the last MotoGP rider to come in as a rookie and get a factory seat? Besides Marc Marquez coming in and getting a factory seat. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think in recent times, not like, long ago, right? Who exactly like to walk into a factory seat? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's rare to walk into a factory seat as a rookie, much less to be signed to one. Not even 6-7 rounds into your rookie year. So the man is already, has his own, stats sheet going already. So, it is what it is. I think he's going to learn and get better as the season goes on. And like I said earlier in previous shows, I think next year, he'll be more of a contender than he is this year. And, I think we were talking about, the mental part of it. That's what it is. The kid has the skill set. It is the mental part is, knowing when to push, when not to push, those kind of things. And that comes with experience. And, maybe having the right people around you too. Not to say he doesn't have the right people, but that comes with time. So that is interesting to see. But, look at Di Giannantonio. He rode very well. Bastianini rode very well. Vinales, I'm all happy about. These guys are, riding really well. You know what I'm saying? And so you look at Pedro, he'll get there. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely going to get there. But, I can't believe Marco Bezzecchi crashed out. That's unfortunate. I'm happy for Di Giannantonio because he's riding well in his second year. So it's good that he had an opportunity, or he gave himself the opportunity, because he had to ride well last year because he would have been out of MotoGP. So and he's backing it up. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like he's either going to re-sign with BR46 or he's going to go to Pramac with Yamaha. So next year is only going to be, at the moment, only going to be 6 Ducati on the grid. But Di Giannantonio, his job is safe, at least for one more year. Maybe he get a 2-year deal. It was interesting to see Alex Marquez ride really well, because we've been talking about, since Marquez came in the box. We haven't been talking about Alex Marquez. And he rode really well this past weekend, so I'm excited for him. And he did get signed, pick up, I believe, a 2-year deal with Grassini.
Yep, he's staying with the same team. So yeah, that's they all did ride pretty well. There is Yamaha kind of disappointed a little bit. I wish Rins could finish to see some results, but they both had new engines in their bike. And they were so promising for this round to be top 10 or to have good finishes, and it just didn't play out that way. I just don't know what happened. So
there was a bunch of Ducatis, man. So that's what happened.
And then the conversation you just said about there's going to be 6 Ducatis on the grid. I'm saying, yeah, that's okay. 8 is a lot.
8 is not enough.
8 is.
Look, I think Ducati wants to be like Moto E. They don't want to be the only bike on the grid.
Ducati lovers, man. 6 is a good amount. 6 is a good amount.
Well, here's the thing, and Pecco touched about this in the press conference. Having 8 riders, and I think he's seen this when he first came in, because it was only, I believe, 4 when he first came in, 4 ducks on the grid when he first signed, right? So having 8 bikes on the grid, they have so much more information, so it's easier to go through data. It's easier to fix what's wrong because they just got more bikes. So, yeah, Honda put 6 bikes on the grid. Yamaha put 6 bikes on the grid. I would love to see that, wouldn't you? KTM, 6 bikes on the grid, and same thing with Aprilia. And so you get, what do we get? Like, what is that? How many? 6 manufacturers, 10 more bikes? And because there's so many riders out there that are really good. And not only that, the competition is still going to be really good, because we know that sharing the data and having all that data makes the bike gets better quicker, right? And so we know that from Ducati. So if I was KTM, I would want 6 bikes on the grid. And if I was Yamaha or whoever, I would want more bikes on the grid, because it just, I understand that maybe KTM not KTM, maybe Aprilia, and Yamaha has money, so I don't know. They sell a lot of keyboards. So, like reach in the pocket and put 6 bikes on the grid and see what happens. But they're not, and they're doing the 4. And until, we'll see what happens in the future. But for the next 2 years, 3 years, because this year isn't over yet, I gotta assume it's Ducati winning the championship until they move to the 850cc.
That's how I see it. It must be like a contract year agreement to put in another bike or something, like, all right, you need to be in for 10 years. Because when Suzuki left, they broke their
contract,
and they didn't even care. So
right.
It must be like, all right, you need to put 2 bikes. It has to be like a 10-year plan or something.
I don't know, and eventually we'll get to interview team owners and figure out how we get there, because that much I don't know. But we can see that it works in Ducati's case. So it's good to see that Alex Marquez is signed for a few years. I think it sounds like Morbidelli, he had a pretty good weekend overall. I don't know what happened in the race. I think he was up to like 5th and fell all the way back down to, I think he finished 12th or something like that, or 9th, I believe. So 9th, he finished 9th. But that's with Marquez getting the penalty for tire pressure and stuff like that. So
yeah, that was
it was, well, I think in Marquez's case, he took too long to put Digi in front of him. Because if you notice, he let Digia go, and they weren't sure why. But I think his tire pressure was too high at that point, and so I think for him it was already too late by the end of the race that the tire pressure didn't come back down. So whenever they tested it, that's why he was penalized afterwards for it, because he did finish higher than that. I think he finished. I don't know if he finished in front of Vinales or not initially, but nonetheless, so. That's some, these rules. I gotta assume that folks are gaining advantage by putting a certain tire pressure in, or not having a certain pressure in. They're gaining advantages, and for MotoGP, Dorna, they feel it's a big enough deal that if you don't get it right, you're being penalized. So I don't get it. But they're looking at data as well, so they must be able to tell. And like I said, I don't know, but it seems like a weird thing to be penalized for, having too much tire pressure. I can understand if you had a certain kind of gas, if you have too much, but that's what he got penalized for. So that's unfortunate. But I think Morbidelli's riding well enough to get another seat, and it sounds like in worst case he's probably going to sign to VR46 next year, probably alongside Furman Aldeguer. And so I hope he gets better. But like I said, I don't know what happened in his race yesterday, and I'm rooting for him to finish up front, because I do believe he can. He is a top 8 MotoGP rider. Realistically, probably top 4 or 5. I'd put him up there. Before his injuries, he was up there. He won races and everything. So it's just it's been taken. He's doing a lot better this year than last year. So I'll leave it there.
Would you give Joan Mir a VR46 seat or Morbidelli first?
Oh, Morbidelli. Here's the all these riders are better riders than me, so I'll put that out there first. But I think for Joan Mir's case, I think he's gonna have to stay with Honda.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think he's still in the prime of his life, so I assume he wants to win championships and stuff like that. If he can talk himself into a Duck or one of those Aprilia seats, you know what I'm saying? Would he go to Yamaha? He knows that they're struggling.
He was forced to go to Honda. Who say he wouldn't go to Yamaha?
Well, again, but I think he has the option to stay at Honda. So that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like, if your house is leaking water, why move down to the house next door that's doing the same thing? You know what I'm saying? And Honda got more money. So, if I was, unless he can get one of those Aprilia, or like I said, it's Aprilia, right? That's left. There's, that's.
If he stays with Honda, then Morbidelli, he's safe. I mean,
Augusto Fernandez, I assume he might be going to. I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions for him, but I don't think he's going to be in MotoGP next year. So unless he goes back, and he's he won world title in Moto2. So I don't know if he'd go. He could go back to Moto2 and do fairly well. You know what I'm saying? So there's no, I don't know what's a better option, going to Moto2 or going to World Superbike. At least with Moto2, you have more races in the year than World Superbike. But from a money standpoint, I don't know what's better, and I don't even know what rooms are available in World Superbike. And so it may be a situation where he has to go to Supersport and then try to come up. So, it's tricky when you don't produce. I mean, I think Oliveira is in the same camp as Fernandez at the moment. Miller, but I think Miller's probably going to get a seat somewhere. So I think Raul's probably going to stay with Trackhouse. Just how what I've heard. So it'll be interesting.
Let's see. Then I'm looking here. Martin was handed. Sorry to jump off top a little bit, but Martin was handed a 3-place grid penalty
for riding slow.
2, yeah. Do you think that would have made a difference in any one of the?
No, because in the main race, he wasn't handed that in the sprint race. It was only in the main race, right?
Oh, main race. Okay, yeah. So you think that would have made a?
No. And it's one of those things that you can't. I don't know, right? It's not you, but you can't speculate. And he didn't want to in the press conference either. It's like the way it happened is the way it is. Like we all could have. If somebody else showed up, if this person didn't crash and all that, the results are what they are based on what happened. So I don't want to get into that, but. And I don't want to sit here and say he couldn't have, but hypothetically speaking, from what he learned, he came from 5th to 3rd. He came from 5th to 2nd. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's possibly he could have been with Pecco, but there's no guarantee that he would have been able to pass Pecco safely.
I agree to that.
You know what I'm saying? So, but he might have passed everybody. I mean, he finished 2nd. So at the end of the day, it's Pecco is riding on a different level today. Since he came, which he should have been from early on. But unless he gets hurt or something like that, or unless the bike starts doing something funny, I think he's just going to keep chipping away those points. For what last few years, a couple of years, he's dealt with pressure really well. So I don't see him cracking in year 3.
Oh yeah, I mean he 2 years ago he broke pressure with Fabio. Fabio was winning the whole half of the season. He came back, took that. Last year was Martin's turn. He came back, took that, and went to the end.
Yeah, he's here again. Just snatching people's food.
just taking people's food for real. But it just shows you how well of a rider he is. So.
No doubt. But before we wrap up, I just want to thank everyone for commenting, subscribing, and liking and all that stuff. Please continue to do that. We really appreciate it. We appreciate it a lot. We do have a promo code, so definitely go out to fullgasproducts.com. And you can use the promo code B4evaKool10, all one word, and get your discount. Definitely support those guys. They're new to our program, and we appreciate them. I've already bought parts from them and stuff like that, and we're hoping to do a lot more in the future. So definitely go to fullgasproducts.com and get your motorcycle stuff and get a discount. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe. So, any predictions for next round?
Well, we know this is Marc Marquez's
favorite track.
handers we all know. So like he's won this track. I don't know how many times in a row.
Right. I
Not
believe
before,
7.
I don't know if he won. I don't know if he won last year. But
No. He didn't lose last year, but I think he won 7. I think Martin won last year.
yeah. But so yeah, we'll see. I think Marquez will be up in the top 3. And the championship's tight, so I gotta say Martin and Pecco. That's like the trio right now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say, same thing. I'd add a few more. Bagniaia, Martin. I'm going to throw Bastianini in there. I'm going to throw Vinales in there. And I'll probably even throw Digia in there because Digia is riding really well. And Marquez, obviously. So I do believe, I'm not going to count out the KTM guys, but, they got a hill. They got a little hill to climb. You know what I'm saying? So, and they, so we'll see what happens with them. But I'll say those guys. I'd love to see, Bezzecchi up there, but he's having one of those years, and so until he does otherwise, I can't really put him up there because these guys, Vinales, DeGianantonio, Bastianini, Martin, Bagnaia, and Marquez, they've been doing their thing.
Oh yeah, this track is going to test a lot of edge grip too, so. They're going to be leaning over for quite some time.
Oh, yeah. And, and listen, it was interesting to see because Vinales was closer in the sprint. We talking about edge grip, and the Aprilia is a pretty good edge grip, but he couldn't see them in the GP. And he also said he didn't have enough in the sprint. But so it's interesting. But I think these 6 guys. Have a pretty good shot this weekend, especially coming off the week of confidence that they have at Assen.
It's gonna be a good one. And how much time? I didn't check the calendar of when this one.
I believe it's this weekend coming up.
Okay, cool. Because we had so much. We had Moto America, MotoGP.
It's so much racing. I don't know what to do with myself.
I love it though.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Definitely. If you want to go ahead and shout out your sponsors.
Oh, yeah. So we got my official Vortex, by the way, RV Rentals, Woodcraft Technologies, and J&G Performance always help me out. My bike destiny.
No doubt. Go to workbenchtech.com. Any IT needs you need. Anything you need, give them a call. Go to hyboston.com or hamdenyard.com. Get your B4evaKool t-shirt. And like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also go to Full Gas Products. Use that discount code, promo code, and get your bike stuff. My name is Rex45.
My name is TJ with 2 L's and Coffee.
Peace.
Peace.